So, this is the last time I'm going to talk about this that I'm aware of. But, so, one thing I left out of as far as the relationship that this show has with reality, they talked about like the sports and the premises and things like that, the backdrop. One thing I left out of that was the fact that apparently the sum of the research that this show did regarding how the judicial system works probably amounts to just watching that one episode of Pinky and the Brain where the brain tries to frame this company for fraud, saying that he was turned into a mouse. Like, it was and then that was, as far as I can tell, all that they did, because they just don't understand the actual process of judification from beginning to end. Having that girl who was bullied by Hannah in the previous school testify in the middle, despite the fact that she was a defense witness. The calling of multiple witnesses with such little notice. Typically, if I'm a defense attorney, and especially such a high-profile case as this would have been, as soon as the tapes get published on the internet, I'm going to request a mistrial. And as soon as, let's say, 2 people get added to the witness list after the actual trial portion, the actual court or jury portion of the trial begins, I'm going to file for a mistrial. If just the fact that Bryce testifies in the middle of the plaintiff portion as well, that's not how it works. The prosecution or the plaintiff will bring everything that they have, and then once they're finished, they'll do their final argument and closing arguments, and then the defense will then come up and they'll call their own witnesses. The person will have the opportunity to do their cross-examining and redirects, and then once that's done, you have the completed ending. The closing arguments will be presented by each side, and then that's it. It's over. Jury goes in. There's none of this back and forth where the plaintiff will call a witness, and then the other person will call a witness, and we're going to enter this new piece of evidence, and all like that's not how it works. The reason that's important is because throughout the entire series, you have Clay, who is possibly having a psychotic break. They don't really make it very clear what's happening there with Hannah, the ghost of Hannah, the apparition of Hannah, where he keeps saying, as well as others, that I want the truth, which is the purpose of the judicial system, to figure out what the actual truth of a matter is. And her response over and over and over again is, I told you my truth. Or another person will like, well, maybe she was just trying to tell her truth. Well, the fact is, you don't have a brand of truth that's your own. You don't have your own personal aspect of truth that no one else has access to. Truth is just true. And there's an episode, actually, I think it's like the second or third, where it begins with the phrase, actually, what is truth, with all these little, like, one throwaway platitude stuff, the kind of stupid things only teenagers believe. And the very end of it comes up like, the truth is that everyone is looking at you. And I hate to break it to you. This is maybe not the most delicate way to do so. I hate to break it to you, but quite frankly, you're just not that important. You might have a YouTube channel like I do that nobody watches. You might have a TikTok or a Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever. Like, you might have some of those things, but quite frankly, most of your friends, as soon as your latest update comes up, they'll watch the first couple seconds and then they close it. Unless it's something that, like, your mom probably watches all of them if you're friends with her or whatever, but you probably don't want her to anyways. Simple fact is, like, when you show up first day of school every year at school, or when you come into work, nobody cares what you're wearing. Nobody even thinks about, like they might make an offhand comment if you're wearing a very short skirt, or if you're wearing a very low neckline, or if you're wearing like brand new shoes, because those kind of stand out, like something remarkable like that. But if you just got jeans and a t-shirt on, nobody cares. Most people won't even notice. In fact, you're probably just going to be in the background of the selfies they're taking of themselves, because they think the same thing you're thinking, that everyone's looking at them when they're not. Simple fact is that 80 to 90% of the people that you interact with on a daily basis practically forget that you even exist less than a minute after the ending of your interaction. That's why the whole getting left on red is a thing, because boom, open, oh okay, gone. Unless it's something that I absolutely have to respond to. And even then, sometimes I don't even see it. Sometimes I'll open my phone to respond to something and then get sidetracked onto something else, and then 3 hours later still haven't replied, and so dinner still has not been decided or whatever. Like, this is what human behavior is. They don't care what kind of car you drive. They don't care what kind of scholarships you have on the table. In fact, scholarships are delicate. They're very easy to lose. They're very competitive. So, anyway, like, if we're going to talk about what is truth, and for something that comes up that often in the show, almost once an episode, what is truth? What is true? Tell me the truth. These kind of things. The show doesn't want anything to do with the concept of truth. Because my truth, whatever your personalization of truth is actually just subjective lies. Just subjective license to deceive someone else. I'm going to purposely leave out and omit essential facts, and I'm going to add in things. I'm going to bend the truth in areas elsewhere so that I can build sympathy for myself, and so that I can criminalize whoever it is that I see fit. Which is the whole sum of the show. That's exactly what you're like. They keep asking, like, why didn't she put this in the tape? Why didn't she put those things in the tape? Maybe, like, simple. Why? Because she's a liar. And before, like, well, she committed suicide, don't be mean to someone who's dead, even though she's not real, whatever. Simple fact, we're all liars. You don't sometimes tell a mistruth, a half-truth, or an outright lie. You don't sometimes do that. You are a liar. You've never done anything but lie. We purposefully will change and reshape the way we tell a story based on the audience in order to make ourselves the hero or ourselves the victim, leaving out, painting over various aspects of the story so that we can achieve that end. And in fact, nobody has ever been lied to by you, or no one. You have never lied to anyone. I guess I should say it like this: you've never lied to anyone so much as you've lied to yourself. You are the most egregious victim of your deceptions. You lie to yourself about the way you look. You lie to yourself about how much people think about you. You lie to yourself about how much you need to practice certain things. You lie to yourself about how proficient you are in the various things that you do. You just lie to yourself all the time, and you get away with it because the only person available to accuse you of that crime is also yourself. It's a compromised witness. So, what is truth? If truth exists within you, and it is subjective the way that this show wants you to believe that it is, of course the school gets off scot-free. Of course Bryce doesn't go to prison at the end, because as long as it is subjective like that, you and I can disagree about the facts of a situation, but no one can be punished. We need an objective standard about what truth is in order to be the backstop for behavior of human beings. So, talked about a lot of stuff here, but I think that's kind of enough for now. Maybe we can talk about losing our virginity later, because that's another thing that's kind of a myth. But anyways, that's for another day.